When we met with the executive buyer in the lobby, I'll never forget, Brian said to her, "This will be different." She didn't believe us. We just kept showing up and we showed that we're not gonna give up on this. And we just kept showing up every day until we did end up winning the deal.
Welcome to Hunters and Unicorns, live from Las Vegas for Raw Stories Live. I'm Simon Kuchis and I'm joined by my co-host, Ollie Kune.
Nearly forgot my name there, Simon. Welcome back to the show, everyone.
And it's with great pleasure that we introduce you to Jennifer Ortegón. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
By way of an introduction, you are Enterprise Account Exec at Harness.
Correct.
It's great to have you on the show, sharing your story with us. And it's a really interesting story because it's a story about one of your biggest accounts that you've just inherited, about to churn, and what's worse is you've just had a really bad loss. So just take us to that moment, take us right to that moment there.
Yeah, so started off the year feeling pretty good. We had a Q1 deal that we felt like we were gonna win. And if we would have won that deal, I would have been 75% of my way to my number. And
In Q1.
in Q1, that's, enterprise software sales. Like, that's the holy grail, right? I mean, I was about to have a great year. And to cut to the chase, we did not win that deal. There were several things where I felt like I had lost control of the sales cycle. We had an executive, a chief product officer come to the meeting. And in the prep, my boss and I, we were like, this is not quite right. But we didn't speak up. We didn't want to, offend our executive. And he railroaded the presentation. And that probably wasn't the only thing why we lost that deal, but we lost. And it was a very high profile loss for the company. And so we went from feeling on top of the world to, oh my gosh, like, what is this year going to look like?
At that point, are you feeling fairly hard done by, in the sense that you've come up of the back of a really bad deal, or a bad situation in something that should have gone right for you, and now you're being lumped with this opportunity in this organization, which, let's be honest, wasn't in the greatest state, right? Are you feeling a little bit hard done by at this point? What's going through, and what's the emotions, and how you're feeling at that point?
So I was feeling a bit of self-doubt. I was only about 3 years into my enterprise software sales career, so I don't have the traditional sales background. I didn't come up through a BDR organization. I was in consulting and then went to work at Medallia in a solutions consulting role and moved into sales. And so I had done a couple good deals. I had done a 7-figure deal at that point, but I was starting to feel like, can I really do this for the long haul? And is this company still going to believe in me, or are they going to think like she's a one-hit wonder?
So how do you approach it now? So you've just been lumbered to go and save one of the most important clients. How are you feeling right now about it?
Yeah. Okay, so the loss happened. I had probably 2 months in between, and I'm trying to figure out, like, how am I going to make my year? Where can I get my deals? Had some upsell from the customers where we had landed net new logos the year before. And that's when I get the call of, hey, you've been selected to work on our very large, very important automotive customer. I say, oh, the one that you say someone quits every quarter? That one? Well, yeah, they just moved their headquarters. It's in our region now. And we just think, our CRO thinks that you're the person to do this. And by the way, they're taking us to RFP and they're running a pilot with our biggest competitor.
Lovely. Amazing.
So I was angry. I actually called up, I called up an old boss, had a job offer lined up, and I almost took it. And that's how I was just kind of disillusioned. Like, I don't want to do this. Why do they always give me the hard things? Like, why? I had a lot of just kind of like a couple weeks of, I would say, victim mindset. And my boss, who I'm going to refer to a couple times, Brian Johnson, hey, Brojo, what's up? He helped me to do a reframe and said, what if you look at this as an opportunity to do something extremely important for our business? Because, by the way, in the automotive industry, everyone looks to what this automaker does. So if they leave us and go to our competitor, we're going to lose all the other big brands that we have, is the most likely scenario. So like, you can come in and really make a big impact. So despite I never had sold an automotive, didn't know much about this customer, didn't have a ton of experience, I said, okay, it looks like I don't think I'm going to get out of this. I don't think I want to take that other job. I guess I have to do it.
So talk to us about the process now. So you now face this. Where does it all, you take your step back, talk us through your process from there and how you then go and approach this account that's got so many problems.
Yeah. So first thing, the consultant in me, I love data and gathering data. So that was the first thing was, who can I talk to? I want to talk to every single person that's ever touched this account, whether it be internally at the account, our partner that was servicing piece of it. I want to get into their platform. I want to see how they're using it. I want to see what the metrics are, and just get as much information as possible to start crafting what's our story here and what message can we tell. So that was step one. And step two was really locking arms with the technical team and the implementation folks that were working, day in and day out with the customer. The sales team hadn't spent a ton of time with them lately because there was nothing to sell. And so our technical team wasn't used to having a sales lead like coming in, having these direct conversations. I even got like my hand slapped a bit of, hey, like, why didn't you go through me to talk to the customer? And it was a bit of a like gentle, like, I hear you, but there's a new sheriff in town and this is how we're gonna do things. And so it was a piece of that, really bringing to the forefront of, we need to treat this customer like the strategic customer they are. I'm hearing that this is so crucial for our business to retain them, yet our actions don't speak that that's what we're trying to do here. And so I say this with not to say like, hey, I came in and told them what to do. It was, hey, like, I'm here with you. I will join every call. You will never hear me say, this is not my job. Like, I will do, like, your success is my success and we have to do this together. So it was really locking arms with our implementation team. And then preparation. I've never before since prepared for a meeting like this. We did things like, we flew to California several weeks before to start crafting our message with our executives. We had executives in the room with us, but this time we gave them the feedback. We learned from that situation, several months before. We locked ourselves into WeWork for 2 days and just rehearsed. And the customer, they didn't really want to hear from the sales team. They wanted to hear from who is going to be working with us day in and day out. And so we had folks like our solution architect, our implementation team lead. They really were doing the bulk of the presentation. And they weren't used to doing high profile customer presentations, right? Like some of the smartest people and best people I've ever worked with. And so we just rehearsed all day and gave the feedback. Let's do it again. We also had fun along the way. I remember that night before, we're still in that WeWork. We ordered a bunch of In-N-Out burgers. Brian brought his ukulele. I don't know why. Why was he learning the ukulele? Who knows? And we just start like, well, what if we just sung the presentation? And then we just start making up these ridiculous songs and had some fun. And so I think that energy showed when we got in front of the customer, and it was new energy and it was different energy. And it was, hey, we're showing up different than we have before. This is a kick-ass team that you're gonna wanna work with. And yeah.
What was the state of the play though? What was the actual state of the customer at that point before you've gone in for the present? Because it was very bad. It was in a really bad.
Okay, we kind of skipped that part, right? So just imagine as red can be. There, sirens going off. They had told us multiple times, we will be leaving you. There were misses from a relationship perspective. There were some implementation things that had happened. We had built a lot of custom things, and so any type of upgrade or feature they couldn't take advantage of. It just, you name it, it had happened. Even some things that happened with our marketing team at our annual customer conference, like stories that are just too crazy to get into. And honestly, I was kind of shocked. And so they were just, they were angry.
Well, they wouldn't even let you in the office though, would they? You couldn't even get into the office, could you? So we turned up at the office and they decided to talk to you in the foyer.
Yes. So we, so Brian and I, we reach out to the executive buyer. The other folks would talk to us, and they did meet with us, but the executive buyer, who was going to be the one who ultimately made the decision, said, hey, we're local. You don't have a team that's a few states away now. Like, we've changed course, and we want to come meet with you. She said, fine. So we're like, okay, we're going to show up this time, this date. Get into the lobby. Wouldn't let us pass security. She said, we can just talk here. You got 10 minutes.
Well, I can't even fathom where you begin with that in a sense of feeling at your probably lowest in that point with that client to actually think, is this really rescuable? So I suppose, what is it that gave you the spark to think, do you know what, I know I can solve this problem. I know there is something to solve here. What was that gave you that glimmer of hope?
So the glimmer of hope was from that, going back to the data gathering process. What we pulled out was that the daily average user rate of our platform at their dealerships was 75% plus, which is massive. That's higher than consumer apps that, you and I use every day on our phone. So we knew that our technology and our platform was integral to the dealerships. And at the end of the day, corporate's job is to support their dealers. And so that's really what we hung our hat on. We fell on the sword saying we have messed this up in so many ways possible, like it's not even funny. However, what are we all trying to do here? We're trying to, help your dealers sell more cars.
Yeah.
And ultimately our platform has proven to do that. And we're gonna make these changes so that we can do that even better. So that was the key insight. And I think that's in sales, you have to have that mindset of I own everything and I'm gonna figure out what's coming through in the data. I'm not just going to leave that to the technical teams.
We hear about it all the time, right? Trust is earned, it's not given, right? What do you think it was that you were able to do to win back that trust? Was it the consistency of your messaging? Help us understand some of those inner workings.
So when we met with the executive buyer in the lobbies, I'll never forget, Brian said to her, this will be different. She didn't believe us, but it was that consistency. We just kept showing up and we showed that we're not going to give up on this. And we just kept showing up differently every day until we, ultimately did end up winning the deal.
Yeah. How did you feel in that moment when you won the deal?
Yeah. So I was back home. I was sitting in an office at our WeWork and I got a phone call from the procurement lead on the RFP. And she said, hey, Jennifer, I'm calling to tell you that you have been selected as vendor of choice. We want to continue to work with you. And I was, honestly, I was in shock because where we had started was just such a low place and we had to have hope, but there was always this part of me like, can we really pull this off? If I were them, would I choose to continue with us? And I cried. I just broke down. It was like months and months of all this, stress, this tension, this overcoming this self-doubt. And it was, it was a relief. And I was just, there was a lot of joy in that moment.
Yeah, I was going to say self-doubt is obviously something which we all experience, and especially in sales, the extreme highs, the extreme lows. How has that deal helped you on your onward journey as a result of that?
Yeah. So that deal was amazing for my career. So I would absolutely say I did the right thing by sticking it out and winning it. Got to go to President's Club as a result of that deal. And I really started to develop a reputation for someone who can do the hard things and who can turn things around. And so it's carried me even to my career here at Harness. Came here with some folks who knew me from my previous company and have been working in a similar capacity with a customer here at Harness. And so that's kind of the brand that, that I've built in my career. And it's really all thanks to this deal that kicked it off.
I think this is the point where we really reflect on what we've spoken about today, Jennifer. It's been fantastic to have you on the show with us and to share this amazing story. And I think, there's a few things to really reflect on here is that, you started from a point of a massive loss then you find yourself in a situation where you're completely back against the wall, completely against it, having to really dig deep, and yet you find a way despite all of that. And it's that dealing with adversity, and then how that adversity is now giving you something to fall back on, and that kind of that reminder that just helps you to continue to grow and elevate, and obviously the reputation that you've developed as a result of that. I think this is a really important turning point in your career. So thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate having you on the show. We've loved having you on. So yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure, Jenna. Thank you so much. So to all our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you've heard, do subscribe to our various channels on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. All the links are in the description below, and we look forward to welcoming you back for another session soon. Thank you and goodbye.